Here we go in three, two, one.
Folks, what is up? And welcome back to the Vol Talk podcast. You are here with Austin and Blake, and we are here to talk all things volunteer sports. And Austin, today we are previewing the road trip to Mississippi State. We are going to be going down to Starkville, Mississippi, playing what seems to be a pretty scrappy Bulldog team in the Mississippi State Bulldogs. And then we're also going to, of course, give our official score predictions for the game after we preview the game. And then we're also going to talk about the announcement of the permanent schedule opponents, Austin, that were announced: Alabama, Kentucky, and Vandy. Different folks have different opinions on that, so we're going to get into that as well. But man, this looks to be it's going to be a pretty tough test.
Yeah, tough road test in the SEC. It's always tough to go on the road in the SEC. We've found out that the hard way the last few years with a couple of tough road losses. So we'll kind of get into that narrative and how we're going to handle that as a team. And then, not to mention, we got to deal with the cowbells, man. Cowbells all game long.
Cowbells.
I will be listening on mute. I will not be listening to the cowbells personally. I think it is absolutely the most annoying thing in sports outside of the Vanderbilt guy who whistles at baseball games.
Yeah, it's I'm not sure how they allow the cowbells, but hey, here we are. They got the cowbells, and it is indeed a pretty difficult sound to listen to for 4 hours straight for a game. So I don't blame you there. But folks, we are going to preview that game, including how we're going to deal with the road noise in Starkville. People are going to be pretty hyped for Mississippi State. They're currently undefeated, so it is going to be a tough road test. We're going to get into how our offense is going to do, how our defense is going to do, and then our score predictions. And then again, we'll jump into that talk about the permanent schedule opponents that were announced for next year moving forward. But first and foremost, obviously, as always, folks, we want to ask you to smash that like button as well as the subscribe button. Austin, we are, last I checked, which was about 15 minutes ago, we are 3 subscribers away from 700. Pretty awesome milestone. So we would appreciate it if you haven't already subscribed. And then, of course, drop your comments in the comment section. And Austin, we are once again doing the premiere style. So this is a recording, but we are going to premiere this episode tonight at 8:30 Eastern is when you folks will be viewing this, and there should be a live chat feature. So go ahead and jump in live chat, chat with other Vols fans. Let us know what you think about the Mississippi State game. But Austin, let's jump right into it, man. Let's jump right into the preview. So we're going to start with, of course, our offense and how it's going to fare against this Mississippi State defense. In terms of our offense, we're rolling so far this season. We're feeling good about the offense. How do we match up though on the road, especially as you've talked about the past couple episodes? This is going to be the first time really that Joey Aguilar is going to be running this offense in a true road environment. So, how do you think that we're going to do down there in Starkville?
Yeah, I think that's where it starts. You have to be able to handle the noise on the road in the SEC. I mentioned on our last show that Aguilar has never had a really tough road test in his career because App State, that's just not the same kind of environments as the SEC. So that is a question. Will he be able to handle it? I already think yes, just from his makeup. I mean, the Georgia game in the fourth quarter there's no more pressure than that he's going to feel all year long. So I think he'll handle that well as long as the communication and things work. The system and the helmets and whatnot. As long as that stuff works, and in all fairness, it's Mississippi State. It's not like we're go into the swamp or something. It's still, it's not a top 5 SEC environment, even though the cowbells are extremely annoying. But it is going to be tough. So we'll have to see how the offense handles that. I will say I was really impressed with Mississippi State's defense against Arizona State. They completely shut down Sam Levitt, the Arizona State quarterback. He had under 100 passing yards, and looking at their team, it looks like their strength is actually their secondary. So that is going to be interesting to see how our receivers match up with their secondary. But man, it's hard to imagine our offense is just going to get shut down. You never know, but it's just yeah, just the way they've played this year, the way it looks different. You know, I'm going to be comparing this game a lot to the Arkansas game last year, just because there are some parallels, right, Blake? It's a team that people perceive as a lesser team than us. And it is early on in the year, and it's a game that a lot of people circled as wins, but we know that we've had some of these tougher, baffling road losses, as Dakota likes to say, but the baffling road losses in Heupel's career. Um, to me, the difference in that Arkansas game and this game will be our offense. I actually trust this offense to score at will. They did it against Georgia's defense, and even the nega Vols fans, which I might be friends with some of them, uh, you can honestly tell me face to face that you think Mississippi State's defense is better than Georgia's defense. And I get it's on
Right.
the road and it's a different challenges that you face, but I really don't think that's going to make up us dropping 40 on Georgia. I think the offense will be fine. Frankly, I think the passing offense will be just fine. I believe in Joey Aguilar. They don't have a vicious pass rusher. I've done my research. They really don't have a guy up front that I'm terrified of, which is nice because I think once again this our offensive line is going to hold up in pass protection. Man, they've done a really good job all year long, and and I don't think they're going to be shown a huge challenge from an edge rusher in this game. Could be wrong. Maybe somebody will break out, but from what I've seen, that hasn't happened yet. The challenge will be attacking the secondary, who I will say is playing really well. Like I said, shut down Arizona State, which was impressive. Um, but again, I think we're on a different level than Arizona State people. I do, just
Yeah.
from what I've seen this season. Even going back to the Syracuse performance on offense, Blake, I think Syracuse has a really good defense, and we did what we wanted in the past game. So I think we'll be able to do that once again.
Yeah, I do like the parallel that you've drawn to the Arkansas game from last year, right? Very similar makeup in terms of where it's positioned on our schedule and like you said, kind of the scrappy team that is viewed as the underdog and Mississippi State is going to be looking for blood because they're off to a hot start this season.
Yep.
They've got a lot of confidence. But at the end of the day, I think you are exactly right that those factors, yes, I think we might see a few sputters here and there. We might see a few mistakes here and there, but ultimately, the evidence so far this season suggests that we're still going to be fine on offense, even on the road against again even a good secondary in Mississippi State and a good environment that they're going to have down there in Starkville. I just again, the evidence seems to suggest that Aguilar is going to remain calm, like you said. He's going to be able to handle the pressure. The receivers, man, these receivers are having a great year. So I still believe they're going to be able to create some separation between themselves and Mississippi State's secondary. And then, of course, I love that you bring up the offensive line. They're playing great, especially in pass protection so far this season. So definitely, it seems like there's just not much that Mississippi State is going to be able to do now. Well, and the big factor, the big difference between Mississippi State and last year's Arkansas game being that we have Joey Aguilar at quarterback and not Nico, right? Who is indecisive and who is going to not be a good leader. And I think that might be the X factor if we do get in a tough spot. I think Joey Aguilar is a better leader, such that we're going to be able to right the ship and end up being
Yeah,
just fine on offense.
yeah, in translation, he's not running out of bounds on the last play on fourth down. That's what Blake's
Exactly.
trying to get at. He's not going to be doing that. He's going to give somebody an opportunity. But I will say one thing that does worry me, even though we did lose that Arkansas game last year, is that if you look back on that Arkansas team, Blake, they lost a couple heartbreakers before they got to us. Um, Mississippi State's undefeated. I mean, there is a lot of momentum for Mississippi State right now,
Yes.
and that's what you're getting at. And this is going to be, my buddy James has been talking about how it's going to be their Super Bowl, and he is absolutely correct about that. They are going to want this more than anything. This is a game that they've had circled on their schedule, right? We didn't circle them on our schedule, right? we're looking at bigger teams. We're looking at Georgia and Alabama and things of that nature. Mississippi State scheduled Tennessee. It's like, man, if we can play tough in this game, maybe we can win 7 or 8 games. And I know that
Hmm.
seems like low expectations, but they've been in a rough spot the last few years.
Yeah.
Really, yeah, for like the last 5 years. So they haven't been good. But man, there's a lot of momentum right now. They beat a solid Arizona State team. I will say, in the Arizona State game, it was kind of a miracle. I wouldn't say it was a miracle, but it was a crazy comeback that they had. Um, I will say though, I don't think that Arizona State team is that great. They made the playoff last year, but they are not the same team. If you're an NFL enjoyer, you're watching Cam Scatterboo right now for the Giants ball out. So that's a guy that was on that playoff team last year for Arizona State, Blake. So I'm not going to say that win was nothing. That was at home for Mississippi State as well. It was a huge win for their program. I think SEC play will be different. Um,
Yeah.
so we'll see, man. We'll see. But I think ultimately, to wrap up the offense, man, I think offensively we'll be fine. I don't think that's where the question marks will come in this game. I think we'll be fine
Yeah.
offensively. I think question marks will come in our next segment.
Which is the segue to the next segment, the defense and how it will fare against Mississippi State's offense. Now, I do want to say real quick, you make a great point about SC play being different than Arizona State. If I'm not mistaken, I looked at their schedule. I believe we're their SC opener. Am I mistaken about that, Austin?
We are.
If I'm, yeah.
They've only been
So
tested against Arizona State. That everybody else has been
exactly.
kind of their, easier opponents.
Exactly. So I do think, like you said, it's going to be different for them. They are going to have a lot of confidence, but obviously it's going to be also, it might be a bit of a wake up call. But for their offense, they're going to be at home. They're going to be in a comfortable environment. And our defense thus far, that has been the question mark for our team this season, particularly ironically our secondary, right? While their secondary is one of their better position groups, our secondary is obviously the biggest question mark, particularly in terms of depth. So, Austin, what do you think are kind of the big headlines when we look at our defense and how it matches up against Mississippi State?
Yeah, I mean, first I'll look at their quarterback, how he's played this year, Blake Shapen. He's been pretty good. One thing that popped out to me though, just looking at some of his PFF data, is his best game was Arizona State, which is kind of interesting. Like a guy that kind of elevates in a big moment like that,
Right.
especially towards the end of the game, he made a couple huge plays. That is concerning. From kind of, I guess, backtracking a little bit, that means I want the offense to get off to a hot start and to kind of take the pressure off the defense a little bit. If you can, and that's another thing with the road too. If you can get up early, if you can get a 14-point lead, Blake, or a 17-point lead early, it takes the crowd out of it. Now, those
Yeah.
cowbells will probably be going all day, but less and less, right? Less and less
Yeah.
cowbells all day, which is important.
Yeah.
So that would help out the defense quite a bit. I mean, the defense is just going to have to get off the field, man. That's been the thing. They've let drives keep going on third down, or even fourth down, bringing up old wounds against Georgia. Won't get over it all year, people. So I'll just have to keep bringing it up.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to get off the field on third and fourth down. And then, yeah, I mean, Blake Shapen has been interesting. He's kind of he's kind of a dual threat ish a little bit. So that's always been a tough thing for us to stop. So that's something to look out for as well. And then, like you said, Blake, from our perspective, it is going to be, how does the secondary hold up? There has been some mishaps in the secondary, I'll say, but it's mostly, like you said, Ben, because we are down to our third and fourth string corners going into the year. And so that means we're going to have to rely on the fifth and sixth string corners at points in the game, which is when it becomes a problem. Going to be interested if Tim Banks continues to put Ty and Colton Hood on an island, if he continues to let them just continue to play man coverage and just trust those guys. I wouldn't hate that philosophy because even, if you look at some of the big plays that have happened this year, it's been great plays by the opposing team and our guys were in position. So I wouldn't hate that if they continue to do it, but it is something I'm going to look out for. And also think it depends on the game flow. But so yeah, I mean, those are just a couple things I'm looking at. They have two solid receivers, two guys that are almost at 300 yards on the year. So gonna have to stop those guys. And kind of a makeshift offensive line. They're starting three transfers on the O line. But they played well, especially in pass protection. That's one thing that stood out to me. They are a lot like us, Blake, a better pass protecting line than a run blocking line. Um, I also think, though, I'm very confident in saying that they haven't had the kind of test that we'll present to them yet. And I know our D line isn't what it was last year, but I would be willing to bet they haven't faced Joshua Josephs esque player or even Jordan Ross type player yet this year. So that's gonna be interesting how they handle that challenge. And honestly, when the secondary is struggling, Blake, you want your D linemen to make up for that. If they get
Yep.
to the quarterback quicker, then we don't have to put Ty and Redmond in such a bind or Colton Hood. So yeah, of course, they're always going to be a huge factor in these games.
Yeah, I actually considered when it comes to the thumbnail for today's episode, I considered putting Joshua Josephs or Jordan Ross, on the thumbnail because I did kind of have a feeling. I was like, man, you know, I think we're going to need the defensive line to step up in this game if our defense is going to take a step forward, or just in general, if our defense is going to kind of shore up some of the kind of I don't want to say weaknesses, but the question marks, right? The again, like you said, the secondary. We need some help for those guys, and because we're banged up, and so if the defensive line can get some pressure on Blake Shapen, nice name by the way, then it's going to make it a little bit easier for the defense in general. But I do think you're also right about, hey, the best defense being a good offense, particularly in the beginning. That's going to be huge in order to, like you said, take the crowd out of it, but also just kind of build that momentum, take the pressure off the defense, and all that good stuff. So, in terms of Austin, the defense, I haven't seen, we're not expected to have anyone return yet, right? Or I guess we haven't heard yet.
We
And I
won't. We
know
won't
Heupel
know.
is,
We won't
yeah,
know.
we're not going to
They
know.
are so during SEC play, they're forced to release an injury report. But even those injury reports are Heupel likes to BS on the
Right.
injury report. He doesn't even like to give the real info on the injury report. So we won't know. We'll just look at it on Saturday. Let's look for David
Yeah.
Hobbs. Let's look for. I mean, I don't think McCoy's going to play. I think McCoy's going to take a little bit. My guess for McCoy is after the bye week. That would be my guess for
Yeah.
McCoy is after the bye week. And then Moy's been day to day, so I expect him to get back pretty soon. Um, so yeah, and then David Sanders, I don't know. Like that situation has been weird, and we don't know. I don't expect him to play, but we'll see. And I've made my thoughts on that very clear, Blake. I don't think he has to play. So if he doesn't have to play, then why not give him the year to develop? Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, we'll just have to watch on Saturday, see if any of our injured players are finally out there again.
Speaking of Heupel's shenanigans when it comes to the injury report, do you think it's possible that he's trying to play some 40 chess and named David Sanders Jr. as the starter on the line, but in order to maybe try to coax some SC teams to try to pick on him, and then actually ended up putting Perry over there? I mean,
I don't know,
do you think
man.
he'd be that crazy?
I don't know because like then they would just adjust whenever they saw him in against our
Right.
first opponent or didn't see him in. I don't know. It's he he does find it that there's a competitive advantage in it. I I personally don't see there being a massive competitive advantage in that unless it's like a big time player. Um, and so I don't know. It's weird sometimes, but we have to deal with it. That's why, I mean, it really doesn't even matter when we post a review because it's like, we're not getting any more information leading into the game. We're just going to have to review the game and tell y'all, okay, this is who we saw out there.
Yeah, exactly. We'll know on Saturday when we actually see him on the field. Indeed, Austin. Any other thoughts on the defense in general and how we match up against the Mississippi State offense?
I will say they have some good backs, Mississippi State. So we'll see. I mean, that's the thing with the defense. It hasn't just been the secondary at times. I think stopping the run has been tough. We've really never been able to stop the run against Georgia in Heupel's time here. So that does feel like an outlier game. But even Syracuse was running on us quite a bit, which is concerning because I mean that was last year's defense. I think their biggest strength was the run defense. Um, I mean, really, the defense as a whole was much better last year. But yeah, I mean, so we're gonna have to see if we can stop the run as well. Again, this is why I think a quick start is so crucial this game, man, because you get a quick start, the other team's gonna abandon the run very quickly. So
Yeah,
you get them down early, you take the crowd out of it, you take the run game out of it, and then you make Blake Shapen make his plays if he can. So gonna need the firemen to show up, brother.
absolutely. And I think he will. He has been so far, so I don't think anything's going to change even on the road. But yeah, as we've talked about before on this podcast, opposing quarterbacks seem to have some sort of magical ability when they play the power T to find their best game of the season, and so particularly with our run defense and Chapin being, kind of like you said, a high, kind of a little bit of a hybrid quarterback, can kind of scramble a little bit as well. We're gonna have to shore that up and be ready for that. And ultimately, I think you're absolutely right. It's going to come down to this offense as it has so far this season and getting off to a hot start and then keeping the pedal to the metal, Austin, because I think, perhaps some people are maybe right and a little bit of criticism in the Georgia game and not keeping the pedal to the metal. And so would love to see that, especially on the road, again, to kind of take the fight out of this scrappy Mississippi State team, this team that is off to a hot start. So, Austin, let's move in to the official score predictions. So,
Let's go.
we've talked about offense, talked about defense. We've probably learned our lesson this season already that this defense probably isn't going to hold opposing teams to, you know, 10 points or less. Maybe that changes with this game, and I'll eat those words. But what is your official score prediction, Vols versus Mississippi State?
So the betting spread is 7.5 in our favor, which, for those who don't know, they usually add about 2.5 to 3 points for home field advantage. So in a neutral field, we're about a 10 point favorite according to Vegas against Mississippi State. So that's about where I'll have it. I'll say let's go 38-27. That's a lot of points for them, but I honestly I have to go based on what we've seen this year, Blake, right? We have to go based on what we've seen this year. I think our defense hasn't shown the ability to get off the field and not give up points. And would love to see them change that this game. Would love to see them because you remember at times that last year our defense was very bend but don't break, and so they would give up the yardage, but then they would find a way to make a play in the red zone. Um, and I would love to see a little bit more of that. Hopefully that happens this game.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, that'll be my official prediction: 38-27, Vols win.
Austin, I kid you not. I kid you not. That was my that was my score prediction. 38-27. I was gonna go
No
38-27.
way.
I think I'm not kidding you. I think we score enough. I think we score plenty, especially early. And then end up I was gonna say 38 and then yeah, I agree with you in terms of Mississippi State. I think they are going to put up some points against us. And I honestly, and maybe this is my all coming out, but I think there's going to be a point during the game where we're maybe sweating a little bit, maybe getting
Yeah.
a little frustrated with the defense,
Yeah.
maybe hoping
Well,
the
you get
fireman bails
frustrated
us
with the
out.
defense when they give up a single point.
Well, that's yes, true. I brother, look. I'm searching for that mythical unscored upon season. Okay,
Brother,
last
this
last.
ain't the 30s anymore, dude. That's I wouldn't hold your breath for that one.
Well, sometimes I wish it was. Sometimes I wish it was. But no, I yes, I get frustrated. Um, Man, I want to win. I want to, and I don't want to just win. I want to smash every single team that we play. What can I say?
Oh,
But yeah, so I think
I
I,
would love a no sweat SEC road win, man.
yeah,
I would
exactly.
absolutely love it. All my buddies seemed convinced for losing this game because some of them are nega Vols. I think we're gonna find a way to win it, man. I do, especially if it's close. That's the thing, man. You made a good point earlier talking about the offense because when it gets close, and I think I agree with you, man. I think this game will at some point in the second half will look close and be like, okay, we need to put this game away. I just believe in Joey Aguilar, man. Like it's simple
Exactly.
analysis, but I do. I believe he'll make a play. I mean, I have no
Yeah.
reason not to at this point. Every point in this season when we needed a play, he's given it to us. The only question will be how he handles the road, but again, I think his makeup makes it where he'll be fine. So I think Aguilar will make a big play in a big moment, and we'll find a way to win this game.
Pull away in the second half, close it out. There you have it, folks. Road win in Starkville against Mississippi State. Heading on to the rest of SC play. And it's going to be necessary, Austin, too. We got to win these games. We have to win if we want to stay on track this season, if we want to make a playoff berth. We're going to have to win these games, including these road games.
Yep.
Starkville, Mississippi is, brother, it's small fries compared to the rest of the road games that we have this season. We've got Bryant Denny, we've got the Swamp still this season, and so we need to make sure that we're right
Oh yeah.
on this road
If
game.
we didn't make it clear, this is a must win for us if we want to do something
Is
this year. The wheels will fall
exactly.
off the team and Vol Talk if we lose this football game. So
We're gonna keep bringing Vol Talk to the people, but we just can't guarantee that we're not going to be utterly depressed if this game doesn't go the right way. So, but Austin, speaking of Alabama in particular, and the rest of the teams on our schedule, actually, these three teams that we're about to talk about, we have yet to play this season. We will
yeah,
play later this season. So let's transition over to the announcement that was made. I believe I want to say yesterday.
it was
Um,
yesterday. It was
Yesterday,
leaked
that's right.
yesterday.
Leaked. That's right. It was leaked yesterday in terms of the permanent opponents, the quote unquote rivals, whatever you want to call it, the permanent yearly opponents for each SC team. Now that we're moving to a 9-game SC schedule, and most people predicted this, we ended up with Alabama, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, Alabama obviously makes sense. Alabama Tennessee is the oldest rivalry in the SEC, one of the oldest in the country. Kentucky and Vanderbilt, it makes sense, I think, from a perspective of just history, right? Some people are saying that, oh, that's too easy for Tennessee, blah, blah, blah. There's different opinions. Give us your take. How did you feel about this announcement and our three opponents?
Um, I like the three opponents they chose. I think it was the right three. I do have to correct you. Auburn and Georgia is the oldest rivalry in the SEC, by the way. But
Uh,
we are close with them. So yeah, Alabama Tennessee was obvious, right? You have to keep the third Saturday in October. Vanderbilt Tennessee was obvious. The question was, are they going to give us Kentucky or someone else? There was like discussion on this like a year ago, Blake, where it was not predicted, but I think it was like reported that it might be South Carolina. That would have been a really weird choice. That wouldn't have made
yeah,
no sense to me personally. My debate was Kentucky or Florida. The Florida game in the '90s, Blake, was the pinnacle of
the
college
game.
football. I mean, it was one
Yep.
of the uh, greatest rivalries in that era. Even leading into early 2000s as well. So that was the only one where it was like, okay, that's a debate, but you also have to look at it from the perspective of the other teams. Like Kentucky
Right.
their obvious like Alabama rivalry was us. Like they're sitting there saying, "Oh, it's for
Yeah.
sure Tennessee." Like that's the one that they
Right.
marked down. That's like, "Oh, it's definitely going to be the Vols." Like,
Yeah.
so you have to look at it from the perspective of the other teams. So they gave us Kentucky. I will say, Blake, this is one of the better draws in the SEC. We have to be pretty happy
Oh yeah.
about this. I mean, we knew we were going to get Vanderbilt, so that was a free win every year. But the Kentucky win was like in question. But we get the Kentucky win every year as well, so that's sweet, man. That's two free wins every single season, and for the rest of time, by the way. And I am not being sarcastic. Until Josh Heupel leaves to go somewhere else or retires from coaching, we will win those games every single season. So I'm happy with it, man. I'm ultimately happy with this. Even though it was the expected result, some of the rest of them in the SEC were kind of weird. But like, because again, some of these teams don't have big rivals, man. I mean, Vanderbilt outside of us
Right.
doesn't really have a big rival, so they just kind of threw them random. They threw them Mississippi State and Auburn, which is like, what?
Yeah,
That
that was
doesn't.
very weird.
They used listen what they did with Vanderbilt. Since we're talking about our three rivals each year, right? Our rivals. What they did with Vanderbilt is they balanced out other people's schedules. That's what they did.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
they saw Auburn. They got the South's oldest rivalry with Georgia, and then they got the Iron Bowl with Alabama. And they're like, well, geez, we can't give them someone else tough, so we'll give them Vanderbilt to balance it out. That's how they use some of these teams that aren't very good. Nobody can make sense of Missouri's rivalries. I mean, because it made sense to me because there's some of the Western teams that they're playing. But like I think A&M was really confused why they got Missouri. They're like, what? Why did we get Missouri? Again, you have to give these teams somebody because they're not historical programs. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think they did a pretty good job. I think they did a pretty good job with this. It's just tough, man. Like when you invite these teams in the SEC, you have some of you have some of
Yeah.
these things, right? You have some of these issues, but yeah, yeah, I like our
When
three.
you invite schools like Missouri,
Yeah,
who is not a
correct.
part of the South, not a part of the Southeast, doesn't make sense in the
And
SC,
everybody
doesn't
keeps
have a
wondering why
history.
they're in the conference. They're not wondering why
Exactly.
they got their three opponents. They're wondering, what? Wait, why are they in the conference? They're
Wait a
here.
minute,
So
Missouri's in the SC?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Um, I do enjoy this, Austin. Usually it's me that's giving the bulletin board material on this
Oh, it's
podcast.
Vandy and
So
Kentucky.
I
We're not worried about them. Come on.
yeah, exactly.
We
No,
don't worry
I
about
no,
those teams
no.
here.
I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about, I mean, shoot, I'm on board. I love it. You nonchalantly throwing Missouri under the bus. Now I have to add on to the bulletin board material and defend myself on your correction about the quote unquote oldest rivalry. Who cares about Auburn and Georgia, brother? Like,
Dude,
let's be
people
real.
people in Auburn and Georgia care about that a lot. So
Correct. People in Auburn and Georgia, right? Look, the prestige is Alabama and Tennessee have infinitely more prestige than Auburn and Georgia. I'm just gonna period. Okay. I get the recent history.
uh,
Alabama and Tennessee is a more important rivalry.
what about the Iron
Okay.
Bowl?
Uh, I'm not talking about the Iron Bowl. I'm
No,
talking
I know.
about
I'm
Alabama and
asking. I'm
Tennessee.
asking because I agree with you. I think the third
Well,
Saturday in October
here
is the second most important rivalry in college football, or no, in
I
in
okay.
in SEC. Third most important in
I
college football.
I will answer your question by quoting Alabama's own GOAT, Nick Saban.
Okay,
Nick Saban
I know where
himself
you're going.
said that he knew that in Alabama people cared about the Tennessee game
That's not what he said.
before
That's not what he said.
okay.
He said his players had an easier time getting up for the Tennessee game than the Auburn game. That's what he
So
said.
what does that mean? That
It
means his players cared more about the Tennessee
it told
game.
me
That's
his
what I'm
players are
saying.
bullies because at the time that they were beating up on us, we sucked. Okay. Now, because at the end, Nick was having a trouble getting them to understand what was going on with that rivalry because they weren't playing so good at the end. Okay. So I'll
Yeah.
just leave it at that. I think they were just a bunch of bullies and that they had no problem beating up on. And I was gonna take a shot at a former player, but I'm gonna take a shot at a former coach because I like the player now. of the Jeremy Pruitt led Tennessee Volunteers. Yeah, I mean, I would assume it's pretty easy to go in and beat that squad. Like, give me a break. I don't know. I remember him making that comment, and it was, it's hard to interpret. I will say, you know, it's hard to beat an in-state rivalry, man. It's hard to beat that. With that being said, though, the biggest rivalry in college football is also not an in-state rivalry. It's Michigan, Ohio
Yeah,
State.
correct.
But
Which
yeah, I
might
agree
be
with you.
the one of the biggest rivalries in all
Yes.
sports.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think, but I do think the third Saturday in October is the second biggest in the SEC, just behind the Iron Bowl. The Iron Bowl, it's just nuts, dude. How they treat how those fans treat the Iron Bowl is insane. Um, but let's not get it twisted. The third Saturday in October is back, dude. It is back. It is a rivalry again. We beat them the last two out of the last 3 years, and I don't know. Hey, listen, I'm happy with the whole draw right now, Blake. I'm happy with getting Bama too. Okay, because right now under Kalen DeBozo, that's barbecue chicken, brother.
Free chicken, as they say, and we're gonna see this year. We're taking that trip down to Bryant Denny to get that monkey off our back, beat him in Tuscaloosa again. So yeah, it's looking good. And I will say that now that we're back where we need to be, and Nicholas Saban is no longer down there, the third Saturday in October is going to start getting the respect it deserves, including from my own brother.
I called it
In terms of,
second behind the Iron
listen,
Bowl,
listen, I get it. Iron Bowl in state,
dude.
blah blah blah. Some bozo killed a tree one
Yeah,
time.
yeah. The
Got it.
bozo killed a tree. That's like a 150
That's
year old tree
brother.
that dude killed.
In the military, we call that a target of opportunity. Okay, that's just because he's in the same state. He's just down the road. Okay, it was easy. Okay,
Okay, gotcha.
we know Alabamans. They're it's difficult for them to if it's tough for them to make a trip to Tennessee. Okay, they like to stay in their little podunk towns. Okay, so
It's
I'm just saying it
by
was
the way.
easy. It was an easy situation.
Okay, all right, that's fair. That's fair. By the way, did you see the news? We're talking about football, but did you see Bruce Pearl retired from basketball
Yes. Yes, Bruce, speaking of Auburn, yes.
and was replaced by
Yeah.
his son? That was crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Didn't see that
That
coming.
was a little crazy.
Don't know why it happened. Gonna wait to find out what happened. I love Bruce Pearl, so don't have anything bad to say about the great Bruce Pearl. But yeah, that was interesting. Also, Auburn fans, you would think, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, Blake. But some Auburn fans, especially those bozos on Twitter, they've been
Oh,
getting on my nerves, by the way.
I
So
know, dude. I know.
come on, we hate the same two teams. We hate Georgia and Alabama. Let's hate them together. Let's be
Yeah.
united in that instead of taking a shot at our quarterback. And by the way, looking like a complete idiot doing it, man. I know
Oh,
nobody
yeah.
knows what I'm
It,
talking about, but I can't
yeah.
stand that clip.
For those of you, listen, brother, you fell for their ploy. It's
I
called
did.
engagement
I
farming.
know,
Okay, it's
man.
called engagement
And I
farming.
took it.
They were just trying to get the engagement. It's a cheap trick. Folks, you will not see that on the Vol Talk podcast. We will never do engagement farming and cheap tricks. Okay. We might poke fun at Nico
Yeah, but we're just telling the
until the end of
truth.
time, but we're just telling the truth,
Yeah.
right? So anyway, what Austin's referring to is there's some Auburn channel that went on Twitter or went channel, said that Joey Aguilar was going to be the worst quarterback in the SEC or whatever, and that it was going to
They made a
be that
huge
Nico,
mistake letting Nico go. It was
yeah,
such a huge
huge mistake
mistake.
letting Nico
And then,
go.
dude, they
So
clung on when people found the video after Aguilar lit up Georgia. People, of course, Vols fans find a way. By the way, Vols fans find a way. If you say something about like the Vols, they will find you, no matter how little people watch your podcast. By the way, more Vols fans have seen your podcast now than Auburn fans. By the way, but anyway, point being is they found this and then they just laid into them. And
oh
then
yeah,
all they clung to, Blake, all the Auburn's fans clung to is, well, we're still undefeated. Well, you're not anymore, idiot. So come on, man. Like, it's okay to be wrong. If that was your genuine prediction, it's okay to be wrong. Say, hey,
own
hand
it.
up. I got this one wrong. I didn't do my research. I wasn't good enough as an analyst because people who did their research, like us, like we got it right. Like, because we did we
Who's
did the work. We actually
yeah.
researched the situation. It's okay to get it wrong. Just admit, okay, I got this one wrong. I'm going to delete the tweet. There's no shame in it.
No shame in admitting that you were wrong, but they doubled down again, trying to get that engagement farming. But yeah, dude, I don't know, and I know Vol Twitter is infamous among all fan
Ruthless.
bases,
Ruthless.
ruthless. But a lot of these fans are starting to get on my ever loving nerve, brother.
Yeah,
From Auburn
dude.
fans to Georgia fans to Bama
And
fans
then
to
Vandy,
Vandy fans.
Vandy, you think they're riding their high right now after beating Georgia Southern. It's unbelievable. I've never seen a fan base celebrate cupcakes like Vanderbilt's celebrating right now. By the way, South
Well,
Carolina
brother,
sucks too.
cupcake,
So
cupcake.
I don't know, man. I can't wait to beat Vanderbilt, and I don't know how the rest of our season is going to play out, but we're beating Vanderbilt.
And Kentucky.
Oh yeah, well that's a
And I
given.
believe we're
Kentucky
on the
fans are
road
in
against
hiding.
Kentucky, right?
Oh yeah, but they're in hiding. No,
Ken-
they're saying
yeah,
nothing right now. They're currently in the mines.
they're in the coal mines, absolutely. But I mean, yeah. So going back to this rivalry stuff and the permanent opponents, yes, it made sense. Of course, I as a '90s kid myself, I'm devastated about losing the yearly Florida game
Yep.
because especially now that we're
Same.
back on track, it's so frustrating. What's frustrating to me is that we're just now coming out of our decade plus of dysfunction, right? Where we had just completely inept administration, chancellors, athletic directors, all the way down to coaches. Um, and now we're just now coming out of that finally, and then now this happens where we don't, get a chance to quickly even the series against Florida, and Florida's in a
Oh,
slump. And then even with Georgia, right? Georgia, now they get to sit on this, streak and blah blah blah. And, and I get Georgia's not going anywhere in terms of how good they are right now with Kirby Smart, unless something crazy happens there. But it is frustrating to lose those games. But at the end of the day, I'm on board with you. Free wins in
yeah,
Kentucky and Vanderbilt,
exactly.
and what's increasingly looking like a free yearly win
Oh, geez, don't say
against the Crimson
yearly.
Tide.
Well, at least it's going to be, biannual. We'll be beating Bama for sure. So, okay, but another thing is though with the Florida game, that does put a little bit more juice on the Florida game. Even though how the new scheduling will work is we'll play each team twice, like every other year, which is kind of nice. Like we're going to be seeing more of
Yeah.
the SEC teams more often. But let's end on the Florida series on a high note, like the
Yes.
annual series. Let's please end on a high note
Please.
and just put the nail in the coffin with Billy Napier, man. Put him out of his misery because literally the only reason he's still getting a check right now, outside of his buyout check, which they'll have to be writing very soon. But yeah, I mean, let's please end that series on a high note because we were better than Florida. That's another thing, and that's
Yes.
that's also talking about Mississippi State, we're also better than Mississippi State. I know there's a lot of negative
Exactly.
Vols fans, and they're upset about the Georgia game, but people, just look at the betting line, okay? And now I know the betting line's not perfect, but we're better than these teams, okay? So just take care of business. And I know it's a swamp. It's the big bad swamp. Casey Clausen hasn't been the only quarterback of this century that's won there. I get all that, but we can beat them this year, okay? We can beat them this year, and we will.
And we absolutely have to, like you said, to end the series on a high note and snap the streak in the swamp as well, to end that annual series. It's gonna be sad. Again, I'm gonna miss the Florida game, but you gotta have Alabama, and then no one's gonna be upset about getting to play Kentucky and Vanderbilt every year.
No,
So interesting news. Again, like you said, there's some interesting kind of situations for other teams, but ultimately, at the end of the day, for our situation, it makes sense, and we're not complaining. We're not complaining. In fact, other teams are complaining. I have seen some other fans
about our
whining
about
and
our pool.
complaining. Yeah,
Yeah,
about our pool. So,
yeah,
but
we'll
hey,
take
what
it.
can you do? What can you do? Austin, any other final thoughts on that, or anything else that we've talked about the Mississippi State game, or anything like that?
No, man, I'm ready for this Mississippi State game. We're about to head deep into SEC play here, so we'll see how they kind of respond, man. Because I'm interested. Like because if we can beat down Mississippi State and we can take care of Arkansas, then all of a sudden the third Saturday in October is looking pretty nice.
It is. And it's going to tell us a lot about how this team is responding to that tough, heartbreaking loss against Georgia and how the rest of the season is going to go. So definitely need to go down there and take care of business for sure. Austin, it's been a fun episode. We ended up yapping a little bit more than we anticipated on the rivalry talk, but it was good yapping. That's what folks get when they come to the Vol Talk podcast. It is quite literally in the name, folks. So we hope you have enjoyed the conversation. Again, as always, please like the video and then also let us know your thoughts in the comments and in the live chat. Let us know what you think about the permanent opponents, Alabama, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt. Let us know what you think about the rivalry talk that we discussed. And of course, let us know what your prediction is for the Mississippi State game. We'd love to see your official score predictions. But as always, we will be reviewing the game on Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. That will be a live episode for at least the foreseeable future. We will be doing this premiere style for our previews, but our reviews will still be live on Sundays at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. So folks, we will see you on the other side of the Mississippi State game on Sunday. Until then, as always, baby, go freaking Vols.
GBO.